our communities, most of the time, I think what we're trained to do is give up, more than anything. You know, we have a hell of a time trying to convince people who around us who are dying to heal ourselves. More often, we end up running to the same oppressor who make us sick, and Stick is a prime example of that. So I want to say he is a true inspiration for me and my crew as we travel around the world, talking about the things we're talking about, using hip hop as a weapon, a tool, a vessel to talk about some of the stuff that we're not able to communicate about, and is an example of stiff resistance, or a walking example of it. So, and I'm proud to have him as part of my team, you know, one of my comrades. So I'd like to say thank you to Stick. This red, black, and going green presentation that we're making, like Stick said, obviously is a work in progress. But I would like to say that I'm more than happy to be able to try out some of these ideas. As a matter of fact, this will be the first one that Prez has ever done in this way, I guess focusing around the concept of environmentalism. But, you know, so bear with us, brothers and sisters. My name is Mutulu Ozubala. I'm the other half of Dead Prez. If there's only two halves, I consider you a part of it as well. You know, Stig did a fantastic job of talking about, giving us a great example of what health is. I like to say that in Dallas, I know that the world, and especially the African-centered world, is looking on this place tonight. I felt the energy when I walked in the door. I know the history of resistance in this place here, and I'm proud to see you beautiful brothers and sisters, Africans, and poor and oppressed people in this particular place at this time. It is evidence that there is a continuation of the resistance, the struggle in our communities against all popular belief that we all just lay down and tend to give up, you know what I mean? But so we're here, and I see that everywhere we are. Even a lot of times, there's cities I go to where we're not able to even pull this kind of energy. You know, I see the infants, the youth. You know, I see all the move makers here. I see, you know, the progressive thinkers. You know, and I'm proud to be, you know, amongst this community. I consider myself amongst this community. So, and I recognize the awesome history of the African liberation movement that came from right out of this place and still exists in this place, and it's connected all throughout Texas, where they have the most kind of anti-us treatment that there is all over the country. You know what I mean? I'm a recent transplant into Houston, Texas, which is where my family lives now, and I'm able to there connect with some beautiful brothers and sisters. I'd like to say thank you to the People's Lunch Counter here, the Malcolm X Grassroots Movement, and Sankofa Organization in Houston, and so many other I do know and I recognize that we're here, so I want to say thank you for being here, being in place, and ready to make the next leap forward to what we got to do with handle, because you know they're always throwing us a new one every day, so we have to pretty much be able to step up at any moment. So thank you, comrade. With that, like I said, they call me M1. I want to talk a little bit about this concept of green or environmentalism as it kind of relates to our movement, you know, as a whole. Because that's one thing that they can talk about alone and by itself and try to make it, you know, something that exists in the vacuum, green, you know, green jobs, you know. But in reality, there's an inextricable relationship between what that means and what our community means. You know, most of the time when they're talking about it from this real ruling class, white bourgeois point of view when they talk about it, which has nothing to do with where we at. Like Stick said, this green concept is authentic to us and definitely not new. But to be able to put our point of view, the point of view of the African who intends to be free, you know, the point of view of the would-be slave into this particular kind of thing is important. So I think in order to do that, we got to talk about from where we came from and how we ended up in this predicament. Because one thing we have to recognize is that our movement for freedom and liberation, of course, obviously, has not died, but the reason why it has been weakened is because of this U.S. government program. It's a campaign, constantly running campaign against our ability to do just that, to organize ourselves, to talk about what's right, to put health on the front of our agenda, to be able to raise our children with a state of mind that's going to talk about this United States system in its proper perspective, as a bloodsucker, a parasite on our community, and give it to us exactly that way, because that's the truth, that's the healing that we're going to be able to need, that we're going to need to get forward. So our African liberation movement that comes from, that is connected to the civil rights movement during the 60s, which elevated into black power, which took a change in the black power and culminated in the creation of all kinds of revolutionary formations all across this map. Not only Black Panther Party, but Revolutionary Action Movement, JOMO, you know, you name it. We were all across. We are the New African People's Organization. We are the Cool Movement, African People's Socialist Party. The reason why we are not in power is because the government came and murdered our leaders everywhere in the community and created the atmosphere of fear, so that you would not be another revolutionary like Malcolm, that you wouldn't be another Fred Hampton Sr., or you wouldn't be Assata Shakur or Afeni Shakur, you know. And after that, they salted the ground with all the drugs in the world that they could steal from everywhere that they were at war with, and bringing it home, and made heroin and crack a part of our regular everyday diet. You know, they made zombied out communities the norm when you start talking about black people. You know, when you talk about, even when you talk about hip hop today, it's synonymous with hustling and drugs, which is not our agenda at all. But it's the exact same agenda that's connected with the counterinsurgency that took down our community, not only with bullets, that was murdered down, you know, people like Bunchy Carter and John Huggins and John Savage, and murder down Zaid Shakur on the New Jersey Turnpike, but continue to murder us down just like that today in our communities with this very same bullets, the Oscar Grant bullets, the Sean Bell bullets, and crack and division in our community. So I want to say it's part and parcel to the same thing. You got to connect it in your mind so you know that we're still in the same war. You know, we still are part and parcel to fighting the same war. So when you look around, you can see how and why our community has been weakened the way that it has. So then when you start talking about health, the idea of health in our community, there's no question why when we look in the corner store, there's all you see in is quarter water or Kennedy Fried Chicken, at least that's what they call it in Brooklyn. And then, or they call it the chicken store, which is selling you, you know, them genetically modified chickens that have 4 wings on them, just so they can make you a midnight snack. You know what I mean? But so that's why the question of health is all there related. You know, we can't even. We're talking about healing ourselves off drug addiction. You know, and we're talking about communities that are being built on top of junk, or built on top of piles of waste that the city throws away. This is where our communities are being built from. So then the concept of health is just pushed even that much further away. Not only is the education not there, but look at even the ground that we breathe. It becomes an unhealthy situation. So I just want to say, to me and to you, I think we have to at least have the ability to frame it like this is war. This is not a new opportunity at a new government that this new African elected leadership has given us, and therefore, no, it's connected exactly to the same kind of insurgency that we had that took down our greatest leadership that we had. So when I say counterinsurgency, I want to be clear, it means war, to counter an insurgency. So to counter our uprising. That's basically what it means. It's a military term. I was taught that. My political education was given to me primarily by the African People's Socialist Party. So it was through that kind of political education, not only would I be able to change my glasses that view the world, but also how I talk about what I would be able to eat. You know what I mean? I was putting down the quarter waters, and we were trying to get away from Kentucky Fried Chicken. Matter of fact, I just wrote a rap for this new piece that me and Stick have been working on, and I just said it last night. I hadn't said it in a while, but it goes like this. It goes, which one will I pick today? The taco hell or the sick fillet? It's all the food groups is what they say, but I stay away from the FDA. The Food and Drug Administration, like cook cocaine, what a combination. The radiation, the carbonation, the monosodium glutamation, the gene pool modification, they unleash a new beast on the population. High fructose concentrations from cancer-causing conglomerations leave a glob in your gut like Java the Pepper. Now you gotta go to the doctor, get cut, get sliced like Pizza Hut, extra cheese. A heart attack, deep fried in grease. Mass production, assembly line, but mass destruction is the design. Chemical ones expose the carcinogens. Cowboy wiped out the Indians. Race, a pie in the face. Chemical traces leave a bad taste. Just like slavery, scraps from the master's table. And that's why I read the label. You gotta read the label too. It's cool, you know, that we've been sharpening our ability to do that, because I want to say that a lot of times these become tools for us to be able to use as weapons. This is our main weapon, you know what I mean, to be able to communicate in this way. And it makes things like this a little bit more palatable. Don't be so boring when you hear election, you know what I mean? So, I want to start with, when I learned about the counterinsurgency, for me, it came in the form of this one particular document that me and Stick used to go over. It's called the King Alfred Plan. Anybody know about King Alfred Plan? Boom. So we used to read the King Alfred Plan and talk about and look at how, you know, they would move FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Agency, into play in situations where uprisings would erupt in the community, and how they would, you know, this is in the King Alfred Plan, which is a document that's made many years ago. They talked about how they would use the stadiums as places that would be prisons, and use the malls, and you know, how they would enact tanks and bring the military into our community as a way to stop us from uprising when the jump off jumped off. You know, it was the King Alfred Plan and Rex 84. And a lot of people would look at us and say, wow, y'all really pretty extreme, you know, because it was far off for, at that time. This was just in 1990. That we would be studying this. People were like, well, what? Yeah, I think y'all, you know, a little extreme, but I think the closer we move, the closer we see the evidence of that happening right now in our community. Every time we look up, we see some of that stuff being enacted. And it was part of a greater plan. I mean, King Alfred, as I came to understand it, was part of even a greater plan. Just like the counterinsurgency or COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, was just one program that J. Edgar Hoover invented that was part of a greater program called CHAOS. You know, it was COINTELPRO that would put the East Coast transits against the West Coast transits and bring crack into the hood. But it was the whole program, which was even broader than the political base. It talked about making us slaves for show forever. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say that all this is part of the process, and we can look it up, and it's not that far-fetched. So when we study it, we know how to counteract it now. Right now, they putting in line this thing called Codex Emeritus. Anybody know about Codex Emeritus? And you know, a lot of people are like, wow, these lofty theories, you know, but I think in order to do a proper study on what's going to happen in our community, we got to study what the enemy is planning so we can be able to do what we got to do. So when Codex Emeritus says it's going to outlaw vitamins, it says it's going to outlaw vitamins for our people. And so you're going to be left to fend for yourself with these inferior food that they feed the African poor and oppressed Black and Latino community to get what you need for your everyday survival. And I think then we have to understand that's part and parcel for a whole plan for us to die from common curable maladies. You know what I mean? They turn the common cold into the swine flu. If you cough 3 times, right now you got the swine flu. Right now, we just going through the airport. They say, well, you know, if you done sneezed and coughed and you did this, and they pretty much fit everybody that's going anywhere. You know, when we know what they're trying to do is drive us towards inoculating ourselves with this disease. You know what I mean? We know that Cheney gonna benefit. You know, we know where the money gonna go when it come down to point this out. But I know, just like Stick said, I know I ain't telling you nothing new. So let's go all the way with it. Let's go all the way. Let's study their plan all the way down. So when they talk about, in Codex Emeritus, when they talk about putting more fluoride in the water, which is a poisonous substance, they put it in the public water supply ever since I was born. Yeah. And now they're going to tell me that this thing it causes brain damage and it eats away at the enamel of your teeth. It doesn't help build the enamel of your teeth. You know what I'm saying? And that's what your toothpaste feel with. So, like I said, I'm not saying anything new to you, but when you're able to study a lot of the stuff that this U.S. government propaganda, because sometimes, the ruling class, especially our oppressors, when they get high and mighty, because they be high and mighty, sometimes they start smelling themselves and they forget that we know how to read. You know what I mean? They forget. You know what I mean? So they leave them documents uncovered. Stuff that if at war, you really wouldn't normally tell somebody. They dole out enough rope that if we collect enough of it, we might be able to hang them with it. You know what I mean? Because they just leave enough rope hanging out for that to happen. So I want to put that analogy out there so we can arm ourselves with the ability to be motivated to look in their documents. Because political education is everything. I can look from my point of view, the point of view of the African who tends to be free. I can look at Garfield cartoon and see political education. I can look at. I definitely can look at the nightly news. I can look at Fox and CNN and see right through what their lies are and see the truth from my political education because I know what they intend to do with African people. So when I'm looking at Fox, believe me, there ain't no indoctrination going on. I'm just studying my enemy. I'm studying the way they lie to us. You know what I mean? The same way. So there was a recent movie that came called An Inconvenient Truth. It was put out by someone who used to be a politician. He might even still be Al Gore. I don't follow him too much anymore. But how many remember the Inconvenient Truth thing that came out? Well, this was, I think, this United States government, and I'm going to try to be quick because I know we got a whole, I would like to do more question and answer than I like to do a lot of talking, but I'm going to go through these talking points, and it's also going to help me align how we frame this discussion about environmentalism, especially quote-unquote environmental racism and being healthy. So to get back to it, this Inconvenient Truth, as it came down and as Gore put this thing out, I was suspicious of it from the beginning. I would be on the planes. I remember seeing it on the way back from Africa. I was able to watch the whole thing on the plane. And I was like, well, why are they showing this on the plane? And then I came and I saw that they had demanded that it be shown in all of the high schools in the U.S. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, why are they doing this? It would just be a movie. But I think it was one of the most important pieces of propaganda that they are using for the environmental movement. It created a kind of fear that said if you don't move today, then you might not have this earth tomorrow, which may be true, but it had nothing to do with what African people have been doing. If we understand it correctly, then we know that they were putting in place, they're implementing different phases of their ability to benefit from us scaring up everything so that we can be in the right place to be engaged. So we can be in the right place to get a green job that builds their economy even more. So as I learned more about it, I found out that not only were the facts in that movie inconsistent and inaccurate, but untrue and straight up propaganda. And then when you look forward to talk about how can we resolve some of those issues, it definitely is not related in what this election ended up being and what Obama is putting forth about getting a so-called green job. You know what I mean? So I see that this whole ploy was about making the ruling class richer, making the rich richer. You know what I mean? Even more than this so-called tree-hugging, global economy-loving, white people. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with it. So in that I see the push for this new world order, which is pretty wide open now. You can turn on any channel and you can pretty much commonly hear the words new world order. It used to be a time when that was not something. It was a hush word. Now you can turn it on pretty much Sesame Street. You're going to hear them say new world order. You know what I mean? Because there's a push to make you accept these words and the fact that it's going to happen and it is in front of our eyes. Part and parcel to the same way we're going to accept a new change in agenda that the government has planned for African people. So I don't know how many have been following what this newly elected president Barack Obama has been doing since he's been in office. But I like to say that it was a beautiful game of musical chairs. you know, you have the same people who in office who got us in leadership in this country who got us in the mess that we in the first place. I know I ain't telling you nothing. So when I tell you that he appointed a person named Lisa Jackson as head of the Environmental Protection Agency, I like to say that she was Dick Cheney's #1 proponent. She worked inside of his companies to be able to help him put high fructose corn syrup in 55% of most of the products that's in the grocery store today. It was this same woman. She's an African woman, you know. But now she's the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, and she's helped to coin the word environmental racism, right? But the concept of environmental racism that she put forward for the government is really a release valve. It's a gas release valve, so that when the pressure builds up and we begin to talk about our communities that are suffering from lead paint poisoning, and like in the Bronx, that are built on top of sewage. I mean, straight, you know, sewage. You understand what I'm saying? We're talking about the toxic triangle that's on the West Coast, that's at Hunters Point in Oakland, California, and why? It's no coincidence that it's located directly inside the African community. That ain't environmental racism. That ain't covered in environmental racism. You understand what I'm saying? You know, basically they intend to leave us out of the picture and continue to poison it. You know, and continue to do things that would not benefit our community. So there's other evidences of the war. Pardon me as I look at my notes. Well, first of all, even as I talk about that, I like to point out a community in the 9th Ward. There's an organization called Common Ground, and in the 9th Ward, I went there and it's a great mirror, because environmentally what they're doing in the 9th Ward is directly related to everything we got to do here. We're talking about somewhere that has just been wiped away, right? That is trying to recover. We're talking about places that people are calling refugees, that's probably living right here in Dallas. People from New Orleans. Well, in New Orleans itself, of course, ain't nobody giving a hell about what's going on. So there's this organization, Common Ground, is running around saving the community by doing things that are so-called green, by planting mustard greens, which will restore the soil to, instead of being a soil that be full of salt and full of the stuff that was washed in by the water, this is restore the soil so it can be able to grow things that can now be good fruit and vegetables for us, by doing something that, just like planting mustard greens. You know, I gotta say that's how simple it is for us to begin to fight back. That's what we can do in our community. Simple things like creating solar panels, making solar panels. We don't gotta let the Japanese do it. You know, we actually invented all this technology, so we can make solar power for ourselves. That's what's happening in the 9th Ward. So it's not too far from me, and I gotta really commend these brothers and these sisters, because you know what I mean. They intend that place is not going ever be here again. So while I'm on it, I made a small list of revolutionary green things you can do, and I'm gonna say like 7 of them off the list. I guess we're mostly Africans here, but I do see some North American, European people, and I can say that one thing that you can do that is green if you're a white person is give reparations. And when I say reparations, I don't even mean just in the way of economic. You know, because reparations to us is tangible and intangible. Reparations to us also has to mean, because while we out here working to just get to work, we working just to get back to work the next day. That's basically what we do. While we out here doing that, the ruling class and white people have been afforded the ability to chill out, learn things that African people would have been learning. I mean, the new resource of technology needs to be turned over into the hands of African people. There ain't no reason why we should be the front runners. So when I talk about reparations, I mean reparations in the way of move out the way and let us do this. I don't even mean just money. I mean, yeah, you got 3 bicycles in your garage. I mean, go give them bicycles out to our community. You understand? You know, so our reparations goes far when we talk about that for African people. One, to produce real goods and services to be used and traded with others that lightly tax the environment or it can be replenished. To produce real goods and services, because the thing is, what America has become is a consumer economy. Ain't no producing. And that's the reason why, well, the main thing that America produces is war. That's the number one thing that America produces. That's why Obama aligned troops on the Colombian border outside of Venezuela. Because he knows what he wants to do in South America. He needs to be knee-deep in war so that we can take and plunder other people's resources. And I want to say, too, that if we begin to do that, we will become a nation inside a nation that can have bargaining power. If, as a collective force, African people, black and brown people collectively, we can become a bargaining force that can be a nation inside this nation. You understand what I'm saying? Some of the goods and services we can provide, nobody else can provide. And we ingenious enough to come up with it. Two, walk and bike to near locations to increase physical health and conserve energy. That's the energy in your house. Create black and brown recycling centers to cash in on the ruling class greening process. Because you better believe that when they talk about the green question, black people ain't got nothing to do. When they talk about creating green jobs, black people have nothing to do. I mean, this whole push for what's happening in Washington, D.C. is a whole discussion that is a $1 billion discussion that we won't see the trickle down in our community at all. At all. They say the unemployment rate in Detroit right now is 20%. 20%. You know, it's to the point that black people can't even bury ourselves. I mean, the bodies are piling up in the morgues. We don't even have the ability to put our own people in the ground. So, where is this economy for African people? You understand? I think we have to create. We got to get in the middle of that space and say, no, we claim it. Because if we're talking about what we consume and the waste that's there, there's plenty of that we can use in our community. When we talk about recycling, you know what I mean? They making millions of dollars from recycling alone, and we're not even part of that discussion. They don't even use our communities in that discussion. But here we are, you know, with the same cans and plastic live in our community. Learn to convert urban homes into energy producers. Learn to convert urban homes or your crib into an energy producer. It means you can compost. Anybody know what composting is? Yeah, you can compost and you can share compost. You have enough compost that you can take to your next door neighbor and say, now you grow something with this good soil that these worms just ate their way through that used to be my garden. That's called composting. You know what I mean? It makes this ground livable. Invest in education to forge simple technological events. Now, this might sound small, but if we have a meeting here in this center every week to talk about the green process around African people, we're going to come up with some great ideas. We're not doing that. We're not having no meetings concerning that, or concerning the greening or the browning, really, what it is about community. Because that's the healthy part. You know what I mean? A green banana ain't really good. It's when you eat brown, that's sweet. That's when it's sweet. So let's call it browning. They call it greening. That's green. Okay. And I'm pretty sure you got many more. I ain't even gonna go on to the rest of my list. I just want to say thank you for letting me get in front of you and run my mouth and talk about some of the positioning that we're in. You know, anybody out here who's concerned with this discussion, I think you have to pick up a book by a man named Van Jones. It's called The Green Collar Economy. It's called The Green Collar Economy. I've been reading this to brush up on this discussion. Much of this book I do not agree with, but it's great because Van Jones is someone who came through our community, the black nationalist community, who became would-be socialists or communists, but who has been appointed to a special task force by Obama himself, by old dog himself.
He fired?
He got fired.
They fired him for saying the Republicans are able.
Yeah.
Well, I think he said he resigned. You know, I guess. Well, I like to say that as much disagreement that I have with that strategy alone and with Brother Vando's particular, some of the particular ways that he went and is going about organizing, but I have to say the book is very informative, and it helped me to frame a whole new discussion about what's really going on. So if you were into reading Green College County, and I think you know, the next thing we're going to be talking about is rewriting that book and calling it Red, Black, and Green. That's what it's going to take. So with that being said, I'm going to let my time be done. I would like to open up the floor for questions and answers, or allow my partner Stick to come and say a few words. We're doing a talk team, tandem, tag team, and we're doing it in tandem. And so I like to open up and say that I'm a student. Don't ever regard me as a rapper, or you just came to see a rapper. I'm a student. I'm a student. I came here to sit at your foot and learn. Yeah, I rap when the time is right. I'm also a father, but I'm also a son. You know what I mean? So we all got plenty of roles to play. No matter where you at with it, you have to be a revolutionary. I don't care if you call yourself a janitor, a teacher, you know, whatever you are, you have to be a revolutionary. You got to be a revolutionary. If you're a musician, you got to be a revolutionary musician. That's your job. The other stuff is just how you make money. Your job is to be a revolutionary, because that's going to bring the power to the hand of people. So thank you for that, and thank you for listening to my humble point of view. Power to the people.
Sometimes you gotta help somebody. Sometimes you gotta help somebody. Sometimes you just gotta be helpful when life gets stressful. Sometimes you gotta help somebody. Sometimes you gotta help somebody. What goes around is gonna come back round. What goes around is gonna come back round. When you help somebody.